This is the famous Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. She is quite possibly one of the most famous ghosts in all of England, and if not for a single haunting image captured in 1936, she may have just been another ghost story relegated to campfire tales and local lore. But that's not the case, because what we have here is one of the most debated paranormal photos in the entire world. And honestly, I think it can make a pretty convincing case for being the best ghost photo ever taken. If you believe the legends, then this is a picture of Lady Dorothy Walpole descending the grand staircase at Raymer's Hall in Norfolk, England. The apparition was captured by YAX photographer Mansell. Now, there are a lot of stories associated with this photo and, frankly, the hall itself. The legend goes that Dorothy died of a broken heart after her lover took his own life rather than marry her. That would be Thomas Rivers, who was supposed to marry Dorothy but instead ended up ending his own life because he was engaged to be married to somebody else. The story goes that after hearing of her lover's death, Dorothy immediately sickened and eventually died herself. Some sources say that she died 2 weeks after receiving the news of her lover's death. Others say that she lived for 2 years before dying from a broken heart. Either way, she is said to have died in 1725. In 1839, the ghost was said to have appeared to some ladies visiting the hall. They saw the specter of a woman dressed in a brown gown slowly walking up the stairs. In 1841, it was witnessed again. This time, the apparition was seen by a man named John Henry, who was so frightened by what he had seen that he fainted dead away. In 1909, it was seen once more, this time by Rev. N.C. Rumbold and his wife. While staying at the hall, they experienced strange phenomena, including doors opening and closing by themselves, lights flickering, beds shaking, and regular sightings of the Brown Lady. After this, the apparition seemingly vanished until 1936, when the ghost was seen by renowned paranormal investigator Harry Price. Price investigated many hauntings throughout his career, including those at Hampton Court Palace, the Tower of London, and even Hollywood's infamous Hotel Cecil, now known as the Stay on Main. He investigated the haunting at Raynham Hall between April and June of 1936. During his investigation, he managed to capture 3 separate photographs. The first was a picture of the empty staircase where the apparition was often seen. The second was an exposure of 7 minutes meant to capture any spirits that might be present. The third, and perhaps most important, was one taken by Mansell on June, which shows the distinct figure of a woman in a long nightgown slowly walking down the stairs. The photo quickly became famous and has been the subject of much debate since its initial release. There are many who claim that it is indeed a genuine image of a ghost. However, there are just as many skeptics who offer natural explanations for the photo. For starters, the lack of faces or facial features means that it could easily be argued that we are only seeing the top portion of a person wearing a hooded cloak. And, in fact, the original caption for the image published in the Daily Mail simply read, "Mysterious moving brown figure photographed on staircase." It wasn't until later that the ghost story was attached. Others point out that the form seems almost too solid to be a spirit, while others wonder why Dorothy would appear 100 years after her death, and only occasionally, too. I mean, if she were stuck there as a ghost, wouldn't she appear more frequently? What's with the sudden appearances? As for the image itself, it was originally printed in black and white. Some have pointed out that the creases in the fabric of the apparition match almost perfectly with the folds of the carpet on the stairs. Additionally, the light source appears to come only from the bottom of the stairs, leaving the top in darkness. So it's entirely possible that this is simply a case of a person in a brown dress taking advantage of the lighting and the shadows to disguise themselves as a ghost. After all, people like Harry Price were already primed to believe in the haunting. And let's not forget that the original caption didn't mention anything about a ghost, so it really does seem as though this photo is nothing more than a clever trick. Or is it? I'm kind of on the fence with this one. On the one hand, I love the idea of a heartbroken woman whose ghost is forever doomed to walk the stairs of her former home. And the legend surrounding the photo is certainly compelling. But on the other hand, I can't help but notice how the image looks more like a woman in a long dress than a ghost. Now, of course, that doesn't necessarily discount the possibility of there actually being a ghost, but it does cast some doubt on the image. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Is this one of the best, if not the absolute best images of a ghost ever captured? Or is it just a clever trick by someone looking to capitalize on the local legends of the Hall? And while you mull that over, allow me to tell you about a little girl named Matilda. You see, Matilda lived here at the Hall. Well, not in 1725, obviously, but in 1939. She and her family were living in the hall when they heard strange noises coming from the nursery. At first, they thought it was just the wind. You know, the house is old and sometimes the windows and doors can creak. But one day, Mrs. Coleman went into the room to find the source of the noise, and she found the door shaking violently. It was locked from the outside, and nobody was in the room. Soon after, a series of inexplicable events began happening around the house. Pictures fell off the walls, furniture moved, and even books were found floating in the air. One day, Harry Price returned to the house to investigate these new occurrences. And while investigating, he captured an image using a camera with a special infrared film. What he found was a little girl in a nightgown standing at the foot of the bed. Was this little girl Matilda, or was it the ghost of another young girl who died at the Hall? Some reports say that the ghost belongs to a girl named Catherine, who died in 1825 after falling down the stairs. Either way, Price left the location after allegedly receiving a threatening message from the ghost of the Brown Lady, telling him not to interfere with whatever she was doing. And yeah, I would probably leave too. It's never a good sign when the ghost you pissed off earlier warns you to stay away. There have also been many other reported sightings at the Hall, including those of a headless drummer and a phantom coach and horses. Today, Raynham Hall is open to the public and serves as a popular tourist attraction. Visitors come from all over the world to see the haunted house made famous by the Brown Lady. If you visit, be sure to keep your eyes peeled. Who knows? You might be able to snap your own ghostly photo. So, do you believe the legend of the Brown Lady? Or do you think this is nothing but a clever trick? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you all so much for watching. I've been your host. Join us next time for more paranormal investigations and stories from around the world.